Welcome to the Tick Tock Podcast. The clock is always ticking, so let's synchronize our watches and dive in. I'm your host, Callie Brigham, and I'm here to help you make time for what matters. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode. And this one it's going to get good. It's going to get nice and juicy too. If sleep was a hot button, so that was one of our previous episodes, I can only start to imagine how much today's topic is going to be fire. Not because I'm going to be so great, although hopefully I am, but because of the topic matter. And I'm going to have all kinds, I'm sure, of posts and comments and connection in our tribe Facebook about this one. So definitely check that out. You can find the link in the show notes. And stay tuned to the end of today's episode because I do have a little something special for you, a little something different. And I also have something to tell you about our upcoming episodes that are coming. Okay, so the topic for today is mom guilt. I mean, can you have one without the other? I have some ESP that you have it, or some ESPN, whichever one. I have some ESP that you have it, and probably not just mom guilt out there, but guilt. There's lots of guilt happening. There is female guilt, there's human being guilt, there's probably some Catholic guilt out there. I know there's some Jewish guilt out there. There is a whole lot of guilt floating around. Today, I'm going to especially talk about mom guilt. So, ESP, not just that I can sense it, that you have it, but how fun. That's my acronym for today. I don't know. I like some alliteration. I like some rhyming. I like some acronyms. So as I was jotting down some notes for this, I was like, oh, hello, ESP. So that's how I'm going to help you remember and hopefully help you navigate a little bit. I'm certainly not a mom that's on the tail end of things. I've got a 13 and a 15-year-old, but I definitely have a little bit of experience over up in here. So let's just dive in to our ESP here today. ESP about mom guilt. E is going to be expectations. So how can we handle, mitigate, minimize, just relax some of this guilt out there? I think the first way is understanding and being on the same page when it comes to expectations. This is probably like the one and done. We could probably just talk about this one, be like, okay, fixed. We're all good now. So, our expectations include our expectations and their expectations. And I've actually had two guests already that talked about both of these topics with me. The first one was my friend Karen in episode 15. She talked specifically about senior year kids in their last year of high school, love and letting go in that season so hard. And then Chatney talked about it in episode 19. She talked a little bit more about with older children, her husband especially. And if you like a nice little printable, who doesn't? I actually have an expectation conversation printable that is in the show notes for you too. And again, this is going to be for a little bit more of older children having this conversation, but in general, understanding expectations of somebody else and your own expectations is really going to help to navigate some of this. One of the ways that we can do that too is understanding someone's love language. Because a lot of times, what we want to give or what we want to get isn't always what they want to receive themselves. That's usually why either we're drawn to a spouse that has something different, right? It's like, you complete me and Jerry Maguire. Or for whatever reason, God decides to give us kids that are not exactly like us. They might have qualities like us, but they've got just enough uniqueness that it throws us off our game. So I'm going to share a few personal stories today because why not? And when it comes to expectations, I think that one of the things that I want to share is that sometimes we test somebody else's expectations, maybe on purpose, maybe not. Here's a story for you. When I was a teenager, by the way, my mom and I I mean, do you not just love my mom? Isn't she amazing on her episode? Okay, my mom and I could not be more different in the way that we communicate. I'm a thinker, she's a feeler. Like we've got a lot of differences going on, and I'm an only child. So it was just me. That's all she got. And she had just started her new business with Mary Kay. She was really working at having a good schedule, and she told us about it. Like we knew it was not a surprise. She had it up on the refrigerator. These were the nights that she was booking her appointments. These were nights she was holding appointments. So there was no miscommunication whatsoever. I just was a teenager, period. And it was a night that she was going to be booking appointments. Well, I decided that that was a great night to like poke the bear. Okay. I was going to see. Now, I didn't know I was doing this. Let me also clarify that. I just innately, why not? Why not test out my mom? So I went up to her just about the time that she was going to start booking her appointments, getting on the phone, and I asked her if she wanted to watch a movie with me. Now, again, I'm a teenage girl. We don't always see eye to eye, and my mom is very relational. So in that moment, I know that it was so hard for her. So much mom guilt right then because all she wanted to do was say, "Yes, let's watch a movie together." Because when your teenager wants to spend time with you or acts like they want to spend time with you, you usually want to do that. And I saw this look cross her eyes before her very eyes. Now, I can say this more in reflection and in retrospection. And it was this idea of what do I do? What do I need to do? What do I want to do? What's most important to do? And she looked at me, she said, "Oh, I would love to do that. As you know, on my schedule right now, I'm going to go into it was her office, but it was her bedroom and make my booking calls. When I'm done, I would love to watch the movie." And I saw her turn away and I saw her walk away and I saw her go into her room and I saw her shut the door. I imagine the door felt like £1,000,000 to her. I imagine the phone felt like £1,000,000 to her. I mean, maybe she even got a little tear in her eye. I don't know. But I know she felt bad because she wanted to do what I wanted to do in that moment. I probably rolled my eyes. Maybe I whispered something ugly under my breath, like she never wants to spend time with me. I mean, who knows, you guys, what I did? I'm sure it was lovely. It was probably not lovely at all. But I will tell you, I've never forgotten that moment. It stuck with me because here's the deal. We wanna model lots of things for our children or the people around us, right? We wanna model generosity, we wanna model kindness, we wanna model all the great qualities. Yet when it comes to hard work, sometimes we trip up. We trip up about that, and we feel bad about working hard. Yet, what a great thing to model for somebody, to model that devotion, to model that discipline, to model sticking to her schedule when she had committed to it. I got to see it. I had a front row seat to that very thing. So imagine as I grew up, when I was faced with the same opportunity, I had already this pattern in front of me that says, when you have something on your schedule and you decide that this is important and you let other people know and the expectation has already been laid, follow through. In no way was she putting me second because what she ended up building in her business and in her life and who she ended up becoming because of that totally and radically changed my life and how I viewed work and how I viewed success. So that is the first story I want to tell you, that even though in that moment my expectation was that she'd drop everything for me, the right answer was to do what she had already committed to do. And I just want to start off with that and say, where on earth did we get the idea that it is not honorable to work? It is honorable to work. How else will our children know? And how else will they see us make these decisions that will in turn mature us as children? So I can say that as a kid watching it, and now I can say it as a parent. It's interesting too. I've got another story here. So, fast forward many years later, I now have my own kids. At this time, they are probably 4 and 6 years old. I'm working on the biggest goal of my career. Our fiscal year end is June 30th. And so it is like great guns. I mean, we're going all out. I am working harder than I've ever worked in my life. Now, let me be clear, working hard in what I do. I work from home, I work with women, I help them reach their goals. Like, how hard am I really working? But I was totally focused. Lots of mom guilt, right? I felt like I'm neglecting my kids because I'm working to finish this goal. So July 1st hits. Keep in mind, fiscal year ends June 30th. Now we're on July 1st. We live on Pensacola Beach. I say to my kids, hey, let's go to the beach. Like, I can release my guilt now, right? My year is over. We're working really hard to be number one. And we go out to the beach, and I turn and I look at Brayden. I probably called him Bray Bray, which he does not love for me to do now, but sorry, this is my show, Bray Bray. I said, Bray Bray, do you like it when mommy works a little or mommy works a lot? Don't ask me why I asked him that question. Well, I know why. Mom guilt. And I just knew he was going to say, when mommy works a little, right? Well, I mean, I probably put him to bed almost every single night. And when I didn't, he had time with his dad, like, hello. And you know what he did? He looked at me with his giant green eyes and he said, I like it when mommy works a lot. I said, you do? Why? He said, because I like it when we're winning. He's 15 years old now. He plays on 4 soccer teams. And you know what he likes to do? He likes to work hard because he likes to be a champion. Now, has he also seen me not win and not make goals? He has. And has he not won and not made goals? He sure has. But do you know what I started ingraining in him was the push and the champion finish. And what a beautiful thing to show your kids. And then just this last year, again, through my company and this opportunity, had the chance to be in front of thousands of women mostly and share my story as our team was number one again. And now my daughter was 12, almost 13 years old, and I got to bring my family and they're up on the stage with me and I got to thank them for everything and speak into them. And then I got to give them the microphone. And you never know what kids are going to say, right? And I handed it to my daughter, Maddie, and I had not prepped her, which in retrospect was probably not a good idea, but I had not prepped her. And she looked at me and she said, Mom, no more mommy, right? But she said, Mom, when I grow up, I want to work hard like you do. Whoa. I mean, I didn't know what she was going to say. And keep in mind, if you really polled my kids, they'd probably say, I don't work very much because I am at everything. I'm probably at too much. I'm around way too much for their liking, I'm sure. But what she saw happen in her life was that her mom worked hard. And when she grows up, and I don't know what she's going to do, who knows what occupation she's going to have, but she's going to work hard for it. So, some questions to ask yourself with this expectation. Like, where did this come from, right? So, question number 1, where is this negative thought coming from when it comes to this mom guilt? And what evidence do I have to support it? Is it coming because maybe your situation was different as a kid than your situation now? Maybe your mom stayed at home and now you have to work or get to work, right? But maybe there's other moms at school and they have a different situation than you do. Maybe there's something that you see in social media or on television. Where did this negative thought come from? And what evidence do I have to support it? That's question number 1. Question number 2, how does this way of thinking serve me in showing up as the woman, as the leader that I want to be? Like, does it serve me at all? Or is this just making me feel bad? Number 3, what is my genuine want in this situation as opposed to my should? So, what is my want as opposed to my should? And then lastly, 4, how do I want to respond to it? So, this is the expectation. Where is this coming from? Is this really what your kids are wanting? Is this really what you're wanting? Or is this just what you perceive as perfection? You perceive as what the world wants. So, that's E, expectation. S, let's keep moving because we've got so much ground to cover. Actually, I should probably make this a series. I don't know. Maybe we'll go back. But S is systems. So, one of the ways that we help reduce this guilt is we get our systems super tight. Now, the reality is, once you start having kids, some people get more efficient with their time. I think in some ways I did. I was like, okay, I literally have 15 minutes before nap time is over. So I've got to knock this out. Or I took my kids to a Mother's Day out. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. um, and kind of like a preschool from 9 to 1 a couple days a week. I had a nanny come over from 9 to 1 a couple days a week. So during that time, I had to get gritty. I had to like get stuff done because that was it for me. And then I will say, some people, it gets a little less focused when you've got kids. If you already tend to be a little distracted and go off the rails, maybe this is not helping. So, some systems that can help, obviously, a family calendar, especially as they get more and more activities going on. A family calendar, whether that is something that you have on paper or something that you have digitally, as you start to map out. Now, what do you put on the calendar? Well, this goes back to the expectations. So you talk to your family. What's really important this week or this month that I am at? What do you want to see my face at? And what do you really not care about? For example, there was a golf tournament that our school puts on. It's a big fundraiser, and my son Braden was going to golf with my dad on the team, and it was going to be an all Saturday event. Well, instead of thinking, all right, I need to go to this golf event because I want to see my son, I want to see my dad, or I can't go to the golf event and now I'm feeling bad all day long, I said to each one of them, to my dad and to my son, would you like for me to come to the golf tournament? And my dad said, whatever you want to do is great. It doesn't matter. He just was excited to spend time with his grandson. And my son Braden said, actually, don't worry about coming. You're not going to be able to see very much anyways, and it might make me a little bit nervous. And I said, are you sure? Like, we can come at the end. He's like, no, I think I'm okay. Well, I had a whole Saturday with my daughter, with my husband. He stayed home too. That we got other things done. We were able to spend time together. We were without guilt because I asked the question, okay, what is really important? What do you want to see my face at? And what do you not care about? And then we could build it from there. Another system that really is important for me is time blocking. It's huge, especially in all the seasons. I mean, because it changes. Every season changes. And particularly now, because I kind of have my time to work while my kids are at school. And the minute they walk through the door, it's their time. It's game on their time. And then the things that they have going on that evening. So I need to time block. What am I going to get done on Monday morning? And I kind of have my time blocks in thirds, 3 parts of each day: my morning part, my afternoon part, and my evening part. A lot of my evening parts now, except for a little bit of virtual stuff, is family because they've got to get to practice. We're checking on how they're doing with their schoolwork. We're spending time together. We're prepping for the next day. So, time blocking is a big deal. And you don't have to have all 3 time blocks look the same. That's the beauty of it. Another system would be meal planning. I've talked about this before. I did not realize having kids meant feeding them all the time. So don't worry, we have an upcoming episode on that that's really going to help. It is okay to get boring with meal planning, but we also do this on Sundays. Hey, what are some of the dinners that you guys want? We sort of rotate those. We use the leftovers for lunch the next day, and we have about 3 breakfasts that we rotate depending on what they're feeling for that time. Another system would be a support group. And these are just like-minded people, people that get it. They're in the same rhythm that you are. And maybe support group means that you help each other out with childcare. Maybe you just listen. Maybe you're just there for each other. Maybe you give ideas. And so you might want to look for something like that or start something if you need it. Another system would be having help, the right kind of help. Again, different needs in different seasons. There were seasons when I needed that childcare, like I talked about. There were seasons when I just flat out needed somebody to help with laundry. And then as my kids got older, this person that would help with laundry would put it in their room and then they would put it away. And then we kind of lightened up on that as the kids were available to now do their own laundry. I might need somebody to do errands or house cleaning or carpool. It really depended on the season, what could be eliminated so that I could do the most important things that can't be delegated, which is FaceTime with my family and the most important things in my career. Another system would be involving your kids, involving your we call ourselves Team Brigham. We are all part of our household and we all pitch in. Yes, there are certain things that maybe we're a little bit more responsible for, but at the end of the day, this is our home and everybody is capable. I don't do for my kids what they can do for themselves. This is also going to develop their skill as an adult and a functioning adult. And it also means I don't have to do everything. My husband's really good about calling me out on this too, when I have a tendency to try to do it all myself. And the last part of systems is prioritization. Is this really important? And is it really important now? Is this really important? And is this really important now? I do have a bonus S. It's not part of systems, but you guys know I'm banging the drum on this. The S bonus, so it's ESSP, is sleep and fuel. When Elijah in First Kings wanted God to just end it all for him, anybody just like, I can't do it one more day. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. Instead, God had him take a nap and an angel provided some food. Sometimes, friends, you just need sleep and food. So ask yourself, are you really feeling this way or are you just tired? And it's time to prioritize that sleep. So the mom guilt cure-ish, understanding expectations, getting those healthy, getting some good systems in place. And then the last one that I want to share with you is perspective. And remember, I've got a little bonus here at the end. So let's keep going. But perspective. This is where I feel like a mom of a little bit older kids, I can tap in here. Remember when I said a few minutes ago, the question of what is my want as opposed to my should? All right. So perspective means don't should on yourself. You are doing the best you can with the situation that you're in. We're not to compare ourselves to someone's highlight reel, like our bloopers to their highlight reel. You're probably comparing yourself to fantasy after all. You're comparing yourself to filters. You're comparing yourself to edits. You're comparing yourself to something they probably stressed out about when they were sharing. I want to give you a little bird's eye view, kind of the long game of it. I may have mentioned previously that this child psychologist and therapist, Dr. Keith McCurdy, said we're not raising kids, we're raising adults. Isn't that interesting? Think about it like that. Am I raising kids right now or am I raising adults? Here's a story that I just want to share recently. I was talking with one of our girls in the mastermind and we were talking about this concept of mom guilt. I mean, it is legit. It is pervasive. And I said, you know what's so interesting? Because I relate. Like when you're with your kids, you feel guilty about not working. When you're working, you feel guilty about not spending time with your kids. And just the other day, I was reminiscing with my kids. This was probably when they were, I would say, 4 and 3. They're about 20 months apart. And they would go to that preschool from 9 to 1. I'd pick them up, bring them home. We'd have a little snack and we would gather in one of their rooms. My kids are pretty tight. Like they like spending time with each other unless they are irritating each other to death. So we would go to one of their rooms and I would make up a story. It was the same concept every day. It was about a picnic with animals and it was like kind of make your own story, create your own adventure, choose your own adventure. And they would pick out what food the animals were taking to the picnic and which animals were going. And then they would pick out which animal did not bring food and was going to try to steal the other animal's picnic food. This whole story, I would just tell all kinds of things. And at the end, even though the bad animal was trying to steal their food, the good animals would forgive them. And they would tell them, I know that you were just doing this because, I mean, I don't know, you guys, why I made up this story, but this was the story they loved. And every day I was like, okay, what are the animals bringing to the picnic? Watermelon, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, blah, blah, blah. Okay, which animal did not bring food and is going to try to steal? The giraffe. Okay. All right. I mean, every day of their life, I told this story. So we're in the car the other day, and I'm like, oh, you guys, remember? Okay. So this was probably the start of the thick of the mom guilt. You guys remember the story with the animals and the picnic and blah, blah, blah. We're in the car going somewhere. You guys remember? Crickets. I'm like, guys, did you hear me? Blank stares. You guys remember like every day when I would and they just looked at me like I was crazy and they said, "No, I don't really remember that." Like, "You don't remember the story of the animals going to the picnic?" No, they didn't. They do remember some of the things back then, but I was the one. I was the one remembering how it felt to leave them when I needed to go do work and to do what? To do the things that have created the life that they have today. I was just doing the best I could with the situation that I was in. I was called to be their mom. God knew it. They were called to be my kids. And at the end of the day, they didn't even remember. Really, today, I just want you to take a deep breath. You're good. It's good. And I want to close with this thought. This is kind of a unique thought, and I hope that it blesses you. So, we all know the Proverbs 31 woman, right? Oh, gracious. Talk about a battering ram. Talk about guilt. Almost every Christian women's conference highlights it, right? It's exhausting and it's incredibly defeating, honestly. Talk about like she's the real life Pinterest board, right? I mean, think about the things she does. She rises before dawn. She provides amazing food for her children. She runs a profitable textile business. She invests in real estate, cares for the poor, spends hours at the loom making clothes and coverings for her bed, and crafts holiday wreaths out of coffee filters. Okay, maybe the last one is actual Pinterest, but you get the idea. I counted it up. It's 16 things, 16 items, everything from lifting weights every morning. She girds herself with strength and makes her arms strong, making a purple dress to wear. I mean, hopefully that's her season, her color, right? To knitting scarves for her husband, to making a homemade sign and praising her husband at the city gate. Like, go husband. Well, I just want you to know that my background is Jewish for those of you that don't know, or you may have heard my mom's story. That Jewish women have a different take on it because their culture and their family looks at it differently. Proverbs 31, who we say a virtuous woman who can find, is translated best woman of valor. It is a heroic poem, actually, that celebrates the exploits of a warrior. It's actually a blessing, it's not a checklist. And here's how they say it: eshet, chayil. eshet, chayil, chayil. It's kind of fun to say. Eshet, chayil. You got to say, ha, ha, get it in there. Eshet, chayil. Every week at the Sabbath table on Friday nights, the husbands typically, traditionally sing that Proverbs 31 poem over them. It's not saying this is what you did this week or what you should have done. They praise the woman, the mother, the matriarch for blessing their family with her energy, with her creativity. Isn't that amazing? They commit the lines of the poem to memory so they can sing it before the Sabbath meal. And as a matter of fact, the only actual instruction in the whole poem is that the husband celebrates his wife for all that her hands have done. The praise is unconditional. And the blessing goes beyond just the family. Actually, the Jewish women cheer each other on with the blessing, celebrating everything from a promotion to a pregnancy to acts of mercy and justice to battles with cancer. And if you focus on the specifics, it's just another impossible standard. And we're going to fall below the measure and we're going to think about our failures. So instead, we can turn this assignment into an anthem and this job description into a poem of celebration. It's not the ideal woman out there. It's that when one small thing is done, it's worth celebrating. So in Hebrew, it's eshet chayil, but in Southern, it's you go girl. So you can call it eshet chayil, or you can call it you go girl. So let's call out the best in each other and the best in ourselves. So instead of listening to the voices that tell us we're failing or lacking or losing, we're going to celebrate moments of honor and valor with a loud and strong eshet chayil. For we are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, and we strengthen each other every day when we name it, when we cheer each other on. We're going to take back Proverbs 31 women. So if you're a mama raising littles and toddlers and babies, eshet chayil, you go girl. If you're a woman working hard, using your gifts, eshet chayil, you go girl. If you're a woman committed to your marriage, a wife, eshet chayil, you go girl. If you care and you serve, eshet chayil, women of valor, eshet chayil, you go girl. I honor you today. I'm proud to be your sister. Who else do we want to honor together? In our group, we're going to tell each other about the women of valor in our life. We're going to speak eshet, chayil over their lives. Who has loved you, inspired you, moved you, cared for you, done something we're celebrating, done something we're celebrating that we would never ordinarily celebrate. Today is a cheering section because those ugly, critical voices have gone on too long. So we're going to say to the mom guilt, goodbye. See you later. And we are women of valor. Eshet, chayil, you go girl. All right, you go girl. We are going to continue this you go girl process in some new accountability. And we're going to celebrate the little things that we're going to do. So April's coming. That is spring. Can you say spring cleaning? That's your little hint. That's your little tease. So next Tuesday episode, you can check that out and we're going to start something fun in the TikTok tribe. So stay tuned. It's going to be good. All right. Women of valor, eshet, chayil, you go girl. God bless you.
Thank you for joining me on the TikTok podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and leave a 5-star review. Your feedback fuels our mission to help you master your time. Set your alarm for our next episode, and until then, make every moment count.